Thank you everyone for joining my session on the cost optimization when you're migrating your workloads or developing new solution on the AWS cloud platform. Just to introduce myself, I lead the cloud and digital transformation practice at RapidValue. We are one of the select consulting partner of AWS, providing cloud-driven digital transformation to companies who are just few days old, to ISVs, to enterprise, to Fortune 100 companies. And that is where I was part of the last two sessions, which Steve mentioned about on the IoT, and before that on the container. And to give an example of the kind of clients which I have helped and leveraging the AWS cloud, I'm working with one of my client who's leveraging the AWS IoT to create a security SaaS platform. So there is a Fortune 100 company who's migrating all their workloads using again the AWS Cloud-Native. So it's a fantastic. I think the AWS and other it has democratized the technology where it is applicable to the Fortune companies, to the smaller companies, to the ISVs. And typically when I have conversation with my clients, these are their key tactical and the strategic driving factors is that, okay, they want to do away with their internal data center and leverage the AWS cloud platform, whether based upon the IaaS strategy or the PaaS strategy. They want to increase their maintainability of the whole application and the workloads they are migrating or developing, the scalability aspect of it, or the extensibility, what they want to derive out of the different services available on the AWS, microservices based architecture. And I think the session before that, this was based upon the microservices that are leveraging the container based approach, faster time to market with all the different managed services which are there on the AWS. It's very much easier to do what I call a Lego pieces cobbling together of the solution. DevOps, without this, there cannot be an agile development, and of course, all the security. Of course, there are other factors, but these are the primary factors which my clients, they will come and say, okay, this is why I'm going to the AWS cloud platform. And when they are migrating or they're trying to develop a new application on the platform on top of AWS, these are the six switch points they have. Either they just want to rehost their current workloads depending upon the attributes of their workloads, or they want to re-platform it. For example, they do have their internal application databases on SQL Server or Oracle Server, and they just want to leverage one-to-one mapping on the RDS side, and just tinker it a little bit here and there to go to a faster migration path. But if they want to do a more broader life cycle or more enhancing the functionality of the application, they will go towards a refactoring or re-architecting or rewriting the whole thing. Or sometimes depending upon the again the application, they will actually replace it by another third-party SaaS platform, or retire or retain is the last two option. Now, irrespective of any of this option which the client chooses, what AWS provide is, again, this is a kind of just a subset of the services. There are, I think, currently more than 170 plus services. So it provides all the managed services, right from migration and transfer of your application or data, or right from beginning, you can take the same security or the layout of the networking you are comfortable as in your current network, current internal network, to your cloud AWS network, the security and the compliance. You no longer have to bear the headache of maintaining every security and the compliance certification. AWS provides you that. Or you want to have an integrated solution, the SNS, SQS, and other API services are there. Compute, there is whole bouquet of services depending upon, again, what is your application path or the strategy is there, database services and analytics. So irrespective of whatever the path you chooses, there is whole bouquet of services depending upon the strategy. So that is where I want to touch upon, is that whenever our clients are going to the AWS cloud migration, so it is not that Of course, they would have done their TCO analysis, and that's why they're leaning towards the cloud. But the cost optimization after that, it doesn't stop there. Just like when you're doing an application design or application migration, the key tenets of the performance, the scalability, the reliability, the extensibility are the underlying and the foundation tenet. The cost optimization also is the one of the fundamental tenet which our client now follows, that which is part of the whole application strategy. And given time constraint, I'm just touching upon the key cost optimization, what AWS prescribes and what we have followed with our clients, so that it just whets your appetite. The key fundamental tenet is that to avail of as much as possible the managed services what AWS provides, like what I just showed the subset in the previous slide. For example, again, one of the session which was there, which I think Kunal was saying, is that go toward the serverless approach, either use the lambda-based approach or the container-based approach. No need to have your web servers or your business layer running on the actual servers. Like it can be always on demand, depending upon your event driven or any other schedule based things can be happen, and your containers or your lambda can do those services. Or even the whole authentication, cognitive based authentications are there, or even integration, the API gateways or the SQS or SNN. So there are a lot of managed services which you can use in your application, which automatically crunches your development time, the maintainability, the reliability, and extensibility, and you don't need to develop your own solution. So that is, I would say, the one fundamental tenet when we follow that, when we have that cost optimization mindset in our mind. Second aspect of it, the appropriately provisioned. Of course, AWS provides the provisioning of underlying the server or the compute or the databases, which are the underlying the layer of the application, but that also needs to be fine-tuned with the continuous monitoring aspect of it. Again, I've just given an example here that if our application has an Amazon EMR, so depending upon the workload, we can either scale up the nodes what is required, or scale down the nodes depending upon the workload, so that there is no excess capacity. And there also AWS provides different means and mechanism of continuously monitoring it, the matrices of the services, and one doesn't need to always do it manually. It can be automatically scaled up and down based upon the auto scaling feature or the load balancing feature, or more of an alarm based features are there. The third aspect of it, right sizing. Yes, again, if you look at the EC2, there are numerous options of, depending upon again your application needs, what kind of, what I say is what kind of the horsepower you want, right? Initially, of course, there may not be total analysis that, okay, I need a smaller version, or I need a more of a bigger version of the EC2. So there again, what AWS prescribes is the continuous monitoring of your workloads and actually doing the appropriate sizing of the compute power you need, so that you use the lowest cost resource that meets your technical specification. Fourth, purchasing option. Again, you get a lot of flexibility. Like if currently you are only doing it more on the short-term basis of your application workloads, go for the on-demand. But you know that whatever the workloads which you have migrated or developed, it is going to be there for multi-year deployment. Is going to be there. Go for a long-term reservation plan. So again, there are two options there, which is, one is the saving plan option, another is the reserve instances option. Now, the difference between saving plan and the reserve instances, to put it simply, is that saving plans gives you at the hourly based commitment and hourly based discount between the two of these. Reserve instances is more on the actual compute type or the compute instances you are reserving. Spot instances, if you are having your test environment, or you're doing your POC, which is not so mission critical, and you're not so much worried about non-availability of the compute power. You can go for the spot instances, which gives you nearly 75 to 90% of the demand prices. So if you look at it, if I just summarize this four thing at the architecture level, at the different compute or the resource level, at more at the vertical sizing level, at actual the commitment level, we have different option of strategizing that how I can optimize my cost. Coming to the fifth point, the geographic selection and optimizing the data transfer. Now, a lot of application caters to the global user base, or depending upon your application requirements, you would like to have a very low latency, or it's very latency optimized application where you want your user experience to be pretty fast. So there also AWS provides you the different managed services of the CDN based services, the Route 53 option, where you can optimize your cost. The caching services are there, and also you can optimize the data transfer between your different AZs and the region which are available for your deployment, so that when you're deploying your application globally, and the services are appropriately provisioned on those AZs and region, you don't incur any extra cost, but more optimized cost is there for you. The next 2 points I want to touch upon is that the matching supply with the demand, and having an awareness of the expenditure and having the cost governance in the place. Of course, one of the key tenets when we go to the cloud is that to leverage the elasticity what the AWS cloud platform provides. And based upon the elasticity, there are three aspects of it. I want to match it, the supply and demand, only based upon my demand, or I want to have a buffer between my two supply and demand, or it's only going to be a time based. For example, in case of time based, if you have an application which you know that there is going to be an uptick or a spike in particular hours of the day, you can actually schedule the capacity to go up at that particular period of time, and then again go down automatically. And these all are configurable based upon the CloudWatch alarms, and the auto scaling aspect are there. So again, all configure based. Demand based, again, the auto scaling feature gives you the flexibility to, as the demand increases, automatically the provisioned resources increases, so that there is no deterioration of the user experience on the response perspective, or the request provisioning or processing perspective. It automatically matches the demand. Buffer based, that is, if you want to have actually collate your all the requests coming up, and having a more of an asynchronous processing of your request, there also we can leverage the SQS services or the Kinesis services, which matches to your application requirement. And again, as I was mentioning, that once the cloud strategy is embraced, it should not be an afterthought after that, but there should be an actual proper governance and team around that. Just like we have an architecture group which take care of the other architecture tenant, here also it is very key important, which I have seen in my client, is that they will have a proper governance in the place, that we have the stakeholders, not only the technical stakeholders, the business, as well as the financial stakeholders, who will keep a close eye on the continuous TCO and the ROI of the path they have taken. And for this, what the other attributes, what they will do is that they will follow a proper tagging strategy, like each and every resources what is being used across their organization. It can be properly structured in different accounts or cost centers, or the application name, because ultimately it goes to the old tenant, is that unless you actually measure it, monitor it, then only you can improve upon it. So this tagging and categorization of the resources into different subunits and the organization structures helps the organization in how the cost is getting mapped to the business needs, and why it should go up and down. And this also helps in the financial planning, that when this cost is getting attributed to a different system or different revenue streams, it's no longer only a technical cost, but it comes into a whole umbrella of the business strategy. So I touched upon that context of that, when how the migration option it happens, and irrespective of the migration option, what are the 7 ways of having that mindset or the strategy of optimizing it, the cost. But apart from the compute and the other services, the database services, what AWS also provides you, again I have just given a subset here. These are the different services which can be leveraged to have the close monitoring of the cost and optimizing it further. I will touch upon them, all of them briefly. The AWS budget, it's a key thing. Like ultimately, unless we budget the cost, there will always be a chance that we overshoot it. And with the AWS budget, you can budget your monthly budget or a service-based budget. You can have alarms based upon your account or the services, and that gives you kind of a checkpoint that yes, this is the kind of the budget I'm having, and if I'm going to overshoot it, why it is getting overshoot. So there is a kind of always a dashboard based notification is there, and you can always go back and rectify it. The AWS cost and usage report and the Explorer, they give you the one-stop shop for assessing the most detailed information. There are already a predefined reports based upon your services, based upon the region. Again, the cost structure you have, the account structure you have. You can create your own reports out of that, so that you can do a more deep dive or based upon the metrics or the angle which serves you the purpose. Reserves instance reporting, as I was mentioning, that if you already know that your workloads are going to deploy for long term, and the whole strategy of the organization is to go for a long term, then invariably what my clients use, that the reserve instances and the reserve discount based. And there also there are different kind of reports which will tell you that this particular aspect of reserve instances, what I have already purchased, the whatever the intention I had from the purchasing perspective, whether it is getting utilized in a proper way or not, or whether I have to go and replace them with other options what AWS provides. Either I should go more for the spot based or the saving plan based, or should I replace a particular instance type with another instance type so that I get the maximum benefit of my instance booking. CloudWatch, this is one of the key services to continuously monitor all the services, managed services which you have used in your application workloads, because this tells you that what are the different parameters for those services, and based upon those parameters, then you can do your right provisioning or the right scaling of the services. And based upon the CloudWatch metrics, you can do the auto scaling aspect of it. Trusted advisor, it monitors all the application and it gives you the reports that again these are the particular services which can be optimized and how it can be optimized, and it can actually automatically adjust capacity to maintain your performance in a steady way. Again, AWS organization, as I was mentioning, is that it's not just about taking your workloads to the AWS platform, but the key thing is that to map it to your business unit, the business organization, so that all the cost structure, the usage of it, it maps to the business goal. And that's what the AWS organization helps in the overall umbrella of the cost strategy. I think this is what I had given the time constraint. So I wanted to touch upon that why the cost optimization is important. What are the key aspect in which we can have that strategy, and what are the services which AWS provides, which you can leverage to do your cost optimization, and why it is always a continuous cycle which should be there. It's not a one-time activity, it's not the initial only deployment activity, but it's a continuous feedback cycle which should be there.